Hey, beautiful people. Welcome back to Save Our Sisters Unplugged. I'm your host, Norine Fahie, and today's conversation is centered around something many couples quietly navigate behind closed doors: loving someone through illness, emotional exhaustion, and healing. Our guest today, Craig Goldberg, knows that journey personally. Craig is a keynote speaker, a certified vibroacoustic therapy practitioner, a relaxation expert and technologist, and the co founder of InHarmony Interactive. He is passionate about helping people reduce stress, improve relaxation, and better understand the role the nervous system plays in our overall health and well being. Today, we will discuss the personal experiences that led him into this work, how his wife's health journey helped shape his mission, and how mindfulness, sound, and vibration can support healing and resilience through life's challenges. Welcome, Craig.
So honored to be here. Thank you so much. What a great intro. I wish you just follow me around. Make that intro everywhere I go. That sounds fantastic.
Instead of your own theme music, you'll just have this intro just going behind you.
It's perfect. I'm so grateful to be here and ready to share and talk about some things I don't get to talk about that often and dive, I think, a little deeper into some of the things that I do talk about more often. So I'm honored to be here, ready to get vulnerable and share, and so grateful for those that are listening and learning from this conversation.
Perfect. Well, Craig, I want to jump right in with both feet because I am actually excited to hear about this journey. I've looked on your website and you're doing a lot of great things to help people. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of everything, let's go and journey backwards. I'd love to begin with your wife's story because that's really where this journey started for you both. Can you share a little bit of what was happening during that time when doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think so many folks that are in our space that want to help have gone through their own version of struggle, trauma, and I think that's an important part and an important piece to why I do what I do and why I'm so dedicated to helping, supporting education, training, just teaching people about the nervous system, health and wellness, nutrition, the body, the nervous system, and and really, you kind of nailed it. It all goes back to 2012, 2013. My wife got sick. Doc after doc, nobody could tell what was wrong. We went through all the conventional medical system, and tried to figure out what was going on. And her symptoms were, I think, really important because my wife she's gorgeous and she has beautiful Mediterranean skin, and all of a sudden she was getting these blemishes that were coming out of nowhere. And back then, it's so interesting telling this story today in 2026, and what we have access to as far as information, right? Micro learning and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and they're just so much more mature 12 years later. But back then, we didn't have access to the same information. We didn't know some of the things that we know today.
No, we
And
didn't.
it's really wild to me as I reflect back and think about, like, now it just seems second nature to some of the things that we were first introduced to back then. And we only had mainstream medicine for my wife and I. So we only had the Scripps Network in San Diego and the specialists and their testing, and none of them could figure out what was going on. She was getting blemishes on her face out of nowhere. All of her lymph nodes on the top half of her body from waist up were swollen, and we
Mm.
ran biopsies. They came back negative. Like, it was ultimately the fact that she was losing her voice on Saturday afternoon that tipped us off to um, exactly what was going on. And we were at a festival, and our friend Roxy basically said, "Hey, do you lose your voice a lot?" And Epec whispered to her, like, "Yeah, I lose my voice a lot." And she was like, "Put that beer down that's in your hand. It's probably sensitivity to gluten." And at the time, we only knew about we really only knew about, like, the allergic reaction to. We didn't know about gluten sensitivity. It wasn't a thing back then. Um, and and sure enough, my wife gave up gluten, and 72 hours later, all of her symptoms went away. Like
Wow, that
magic.
is so. And
Like
all the
magic.
doctors could not even put a finger on that.
Nobody tested for celiac. Oh, actually, that's not true. We did test for celiac, and she came back negative. Right? She did not have celiac. But it wasn't celiac disease. It was simply
Yeah.
a sensitivity to gluten. And the reason she was losing her voice on Saturday is because back then we were consuming alcohol. I was living in San Diego. We'd go out to happy hour on Thursday night. Sometimes happy hour Thursday night would drift into, nighttime Thursday night. Friday, we would cut off the day short, and by noon we'd be, back on the beach having a beer. It was just casual. It
Yeah.
wasn't heavy drinking, but you have a beer in your hand on Friday into Friday night, keep a beer in your hand. And by Saturday, the sensitivity to gluten would build up so much that the inflammation in her body would build up so much that it would cause her larynx to shut down
Oh my
and she
God.
would lose her voice. And once she removed the gluten, all of the swelling of the lymph nodes went down, all of the cysts on her face that went away, and she no longer lost her voice. It's pretty straightforward.
That is so
So
crazy.
obviously, wild. So obviously, we gave up gluten. Look, we've deep dove into this so much further. Like there is so many aspects to understanding gluten sensitivity and how here in the United States they're using Roundup to spawn and increase yield. So 2-3 days before they harvest the wheat, they actually spray the entire field with Roundup.
Mm.
So is it Roundup that we were sensitive to? I'm not sure. Is it the gluten sensitivity? I'm not sure. Again, just so many different aspects of understanding your health and wellness to further kind of figure out, right? Like it's really a functional health approach. It's not one ingredient. It's often death by 1,000 cuts. It's often a multitude of different things. So over the course of the next few years, Ipek, my wife, and I, we got very clear on these three main environments: what we put in our mouth, what we keep on our skin, and what we allow to be kept in the air around us. And we
Right.
wanted to cleanse and detox all of it.
All of them.
And
Hmm.
that led to us being introduced to essential oils, getting rid of all of our perfumes, colognes, the Glade plugins, the air sprays that we were using, like all the different hairspray, like the lotions that we were putting on our skin. We stopped wearing perfume. We changed deodorants. Like today in 2026, Whole Foods, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, Amazon, like they all have incredible opportunities for you to find healthy products that
Hmm.
are from the earth, right? CMOS. Like think of all
Yeah.
these amazing products that we have access to today that we didn't have access to 12 years ago. And when we gave up gluten, it was actually a challenge. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not a challenge today, but today we have so many gluten-free options in
We
every
do.
category. And back then we didn't, right? Back then the gluten-free was like one aisle and two columns. And that
And it
was
might have
where the
just been
entire
one or two separate things,
yeah, there was no good bread. There was no right, there was just no it was basically abstaining from gluten back then.
and
And
I was laughing because all the things that you mentioned, I have. I love a good perfume. I love a good Ariel. I have Glade plugins. I'm like, OMG.
no, those
You would
Glade
not
plugins are
survive a day in my home.
those Glade plugins are horrendous for you.
Oh
They are
no.
neurotoxins in that the sense. I mean, hey, if we just had this podcast so that I can help you get rid of those Glade plugins, the deodorant for the car, those little trees that they
Hmm.
hang when you go to the car wash, all that stuff is horrific for the body, and it leads
Wow.
to downstream issues like weight gain and toxic load and detoxification setbacks, lymphatic drainage. I mean, it is um, it is so important to clean and cleanse what's in your home and your house and get truly natural products. Essential oils are great, and that's really where our story goes. Um,
Wow.
but
So,
yeah,
and that must have
there's
been,
a ton of neurotoxins in those scents and the things that they're doing. In fact, most perfumes, most cologne, that's Chanel number 5. All of these different perfumes are using synthetic scents that are designed to actually stimulate the
yeah.
our sense of smell, but they also stimulate neural activity and they literally get you addicted to their smells using chemicals. It's really quite bad for the body.
Wow, I definitely did not know all of that. And I know as men, you guys are like wired to fix. So as a husband, what was emotionally hardest for you during that season when you guys didn't know what was wrong?
Well, it's a great question. I haven't talked about this in a while. I mean, look, there's nothing more that you want than to make sure your family is healthy. Wife, significant other, child, parents. I would give anything to, take their pain away, take their suffering away, and try and figure out what is going on. And
Mhm.
it's no different, obviously, for my wife. And at the time we were dating, we weren't engaged yet. We were starting. I knew from the second day I'm with my wife. I met her in 2008, and I've known since the second day we're together that she was the one for me.
Oh,
Um, which is a whole other story. But I mean, we're deeply tied. That was in 2008, so we're looking back 18 years this November, which is
wow.
pretty awesome. Our October. Um, you want nothing more than to take their pain away, their suffering away,
Hmm.
and to try and figure out. I think, and again, hindsight being 2020, and us being where we are, I'll keep this conversation relative to 2026 for somebody who's going through this right now versus what we had answers to in 2012.
Right.
We know so much about the human body, and so much more about the human body. We have so many more resources available to us, and it really is a functional approach to understanding how the body operates. It's not about treating a symptom. Now, we wanted to know based on her symptoms what the cause of that was. And that's an important road to go down. And look, now with ChatGPT and Claude, I think it's something like 80% of ChatGPT's inquiries are health related.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm
whatever the
certain.
number is, maybe don't quote me on that,
Hmm.
but it's huge, right? Whatever the percentage
Hmm.
is, it's a huge percentage. And I think that's a great place to start and to learn and to start researching on what's happening in the body and what the possible solutions are based on the cause, based on the root cause, not on I want to treat the symptom. And even back then, my wife, she went to the dermatologist so she could figure out what cream or lotion she could use to clear up the cysts on her face. We were obviously looking to the medical community to figure out what's causing her lymph nodes to swell. Um, losing the voice was an interesting one, but obviously she started drinking tea, taking
Yeah.
care of her throat, not screaming. All of that is just treating symptoms. It's not getting to the root cause to understand what's actually causing it in the first place, which is why that conversation with Roxy at Lightning in a Bottle was so important, because she was like, ditch the gluten and the symptoms will go away. And sure enough, 72 hours later, they did.
And
So,
how did she approach Roxy about that? Like, listen, you were right.
oh, we told her flat out, like, Roxy, you're amazing. Now, look, the same thing was happening to her, right?
Oh,
So she was losing her voice and couldn't figure out why. And somebody was like, put the beer down and give up gluten. And she did. And she didn't lose her voice anymore. Now, what my wife was going through at the time, she was like, when all of the symptoms went away, she was like, it's not gluten, right? My wife is Turkish, and follows a Mediterranean diet. Mediterranean diet has a lot of gluten in it, pasta, bulgur wheat, bread at every meal,
mm,
right?
oh
Like
yes.
the
Yes,
last
yes,
thing she
yes.
wanted to do is lean into giving up gluten,
Given up.
right?
That's her
She was like,
entire
no,
culture.
it's the cysts are going away because of this cream that I'm putting on, right? This was over the summer, Lightning in a Bottle's over Memorial Day weekend, and when we got back 72 hours later, all of her symptoms went away. It was now June, and in August we were getting ready to go to Burning Man. And if you're not familiar with Burning Man, you pack all of your food for a week and a half, 2 weeks, right?
Oh,
So I said, look, maybe it is this lotion that you're using. Maybe it is this other thing that you did. Maybe it isn't gluten. Maybe it's not. But we're about to go to Burning Man. We pack all of our own food. At this point, we were pretty well versed, but July, we were pretty well versed in eating gluten free. And I said, look, let's reintroduce gluten after Burning Man, because we're about to go on this 2-week trip. let's not right now you're good and we're not eating
Right.
gluten. So let's just do this for another month or two. And then we can reintroduce gluten and we can see what happens. And
Right.
sure enough,
Test the
in,
theory.
yeah, in September we got back and sure enough, all of her symptoms came back like
Oh,
quick,
wow.
right?
And now in that testing phase, when you introduced gluten back, did she stop using the cream?
No, she kept using it and symptoms still came back. So, right. Like, again, I think it's important when you're stress testing this stuff that you don't change certain things. You change one thing at a
Hmm.
time to isolate and figure that out. And I mean, it was blindly clear that,
Yeah.
that it was the gluten. And I was like, I'm sorry, babe, but we're giving up gluten and I'll do it too. So to continue the story, I give up gluten also. And so does my wife. Now, over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, my wife starts feeling better and better every day. And I start feeling worse and worse.
Oh, no.
And we can't figure out what's going on. Along those same lines, we were introduced to essential oils and we start traveling and speaking on the efficacy of essential oils, trade shows, conferences, yoga retreats. And this kind of is two stories running parallel of how I found sound and vibration and how we found essential oils and holistic healing and understanding holistic health.
Hmm.
And getting heavily ingrained in essential oils and swapping out everything in our house. So over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, I have like a low grade fever. I have a runny nose that just won't quit. I have like a cough. The low grade fever kind of came and went, but I just didn't feel well, you know, and I couldn't figure it out. So over in 2014, we got married, and we were researching. I was sitting in bed researching like low grade fever, gluten tolerance. Like I'm trying to figure out why I don't feel good. And we learn about genetically modified food, which I didn't know what that was in 2012. I think now there's an abundance of information, but I still think people today don't understand the difference between conventional food and genetically modified food or non-GMO food. Also, really important to understand. Only eat organic food. Do not eat genetically modified food is the short story,
Mm.
for a variety of different reasons. I know it's more expensive. I know it's more challenging to get, but now it's in abundance. Eat organic produce, eat pasture raised, pasture finished, organic, poultry and meat. Unfortunately, you're putting so many chemicals in your body that mess with your hormones and how your body functions any other way. We didn't know any of this back in 2013,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we learned it. So I'm laying in bed one morning and I'm trying to figure out why I have this nasty head cold that just won't go away. And I discovered genetically modified food, and I did a deep dive in it. I didn't know what it was, and I was horrified at what I found. I mean, horrified, learning how they do it, why they do it, and look, it's a whole other conversation, but it was really important for my wife and I, and that led us to getting rid of all of the sprays, again, what we put in our mouth, what we put on our skin, and what we allow to be kept in the air around us, and just cleaning that up. And it was a process. It was a multi-year process for us to really understand what clean ingredients actually are. And again, today it's so much easier,
Yeah.
but back then it wasn't. So I came home from work one day, and my wife kind of met me at the door. She gave me a kiss, and she was like, "How long have you smelled like that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like, she's like, "You don't smell very good." And I'm like, "I think I smell great." Like, she was like, "You don't smell good." But we couldn't use colognes. We couldn't use deodorant. There weren't, we learned about aluminum. There weren't aluminum-free deodorants back then.
Hmm.
So we just said, "Well, we're gonna clean up our diet and we're gonna just deal with the way we smell." And she was like, "You stink. I'm gonna do something about it. I saw these essential oils down at the grocer. I'm gonna go get a bunch." She came back with 25 bottles of essential oils,
Oh, wow.
and this began um, our deep dive into understanding plant extracts, essential
Hmm.
oils, and us traveling to speak. So again, we start traveling, speaking about the efficacy of essential oils, teaching people how they can replace the chemicals, the air fresheners, all the different things in their house with essential oils, which are plant derived, and and we would go to these yoga retreats and they would have sound healings. And we were back at Lightning in a Bottle. I just realized this, the very same festival that got us off gluten years before. We were now speaking for essential oils. And wow, that's wild. I never realized that.
The whole 180.
Go LIB. It just passed last weekend. We're going to go back. It's been running for 30 years. We're going to go back next year. What a full circle moment. This is awesome. Okay. So, wow, that's just wild. So we drive up to Lightning in a Bottle, and one of the gals, our dear friend, is in our RV, and we set up camp, and then she puts on all white and runs off carrying her drum. And I'm like, Allie, where are you going? And she's like, I'm going to the sound healing. Like I'm part of, I'm one of the angels, and I'm putting on the sound healing, which again is so normal now. But back then I didn't know what that was. I was like, wait, you're doing what? Wait, what? She goes, you have anything to do? And I was like, no, I don't have anything to do right now. I kind of looked around, camp was set up. She was like, you should come with me. Let's go. And I did my first sound bath, and I fell in love. I didn't know what it was, but from the strike of that first bowl, I fell asleep, and I woke up 45 minutes later feeling like $1 million. Like,
I bet. I do love a good sound bath, but I have not been to a live one. And I'm trying to get that for my women's group so that we can all do this together, because I feel like it is so relaxing. But to have one, I cannot wait to experience that. So how was it for you?
Where are your retreats?
Did you go back, grab your wife?
I did afterwards. Absolutely. So I went with her. I laid down. It was amazing. We probably went back 2 or 3 times over the course of that. And then with each speaking engagement, anywhere I was, I would literally go to my hotel or set up camp and then run to the sound healings. Again, not knowing what I know now. I fell in love with it. Now, fast forward, I'm an audiophile, which means I love good music, high quality, speakers and sound. So I went out and I bought a recording of a gong. The gong is the most complex frequency instrument, and these singing bowls that I got as well. And I started to lay out my speakers in my house, and I was cranking this gong CD, trying to recreate the experience that I was getting with the live instruments on tap, right? Like I wanted it on tap. And I was using the wrong technology. But shortly after I tried these experiments myself and ultimately failed, I was introduced to my now business partner, Dominic, who had created our technology called, not invented, but had created our version of that technology called the InHarmony Sound Lounge. And I was hooked from day one. And that's basically what you're looking at here if you're on video. This is our zero gravity recliner, but we have seven different vibroacoustic therapy products, vibration acoustic sound. So it's sound and vibration. And it is an amplified version, a louder, a more intense version of these acoustic instruments that you're striving for. Where's your retreat, by the way?
So I haven't started it yet.
Cool.
I'm in the discovery phase. I have a person, I just found her, was just introduced to her. She does this Reiki healing, and then she does the sound baths. So literally in the planning phases of that. So we don't even have a date set yet. But I'm interested in your chair. The dog seemed to be enjoying it earlier before we got we started recording. Are we getting a demo on how this thing works or what?
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it. So look, at the end of the day, and let me jump around a little bit and kind of get off that story, right? So now you introduced me as a technologist and a vibroacoustic therapy practitioner, which is a mouthful. All that means is that I am versed and study the impact of sound and frequency on the human body. And for me, over the last 10 years, I have dedicated myself to learning, teaching, and educating on the power of sound and vibration to relax the nervous system, reset the nervous system, and recondition the nervous system to spend more time in rest and digest or maintenance mode and less time in stress and anxiety or survival mode. And this is ultimately my passion. I know we're going to focus a little bit more on my relationship, my wife, my parents, my family, and all that. And I want to absolutely focus on that. But yeah, as far as my technology, so deep within our technology is something called a tactile transducer. They're made specifically for us. This basically translates vibration music into vibration, and then ultimately you're connected to this. So there's a magnet that's in here, and it's a direct transference of music and frequency to the body through tactile transducers, speakers, headphones. And we have a record label, InHarmony Media, that is focused on creating music specifically to calm and relax the nervous system. And it's unbelievably powerful. I think far too many people today are dealing with and looking for nervous system regulation, which wasn't even a term a year ago, and now is all the hype. And it, believe it or not, it's pretty easy to have a dysregulated nervous system, which just means that you're slipping into fight or flight. You're slipping into that sympathetic nervous system response too often. And unfortunately, when you're in that sympathetic nervous system response, when you're in fight or flight, when you're in survival mode, your body and your nervous system literally has a different set of priorities. And it can cause all sorts of chronic ailments and issues that,
Right.
again, to go back to my story, you might not realize or find out. Luckily, today, doctors are getting trained on what that looks like. And believe it or not, I was at an EO event a couple weeks ago. I asked my buddy how he's doing, and he goes, "You know what? We were just in Mexico City, and I passed out at dinner."
Oh
And I
my
said, "Really?
God.
What happened at dinner?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know. I literally fell asleep, blacked out, woke up, and EMTs were around me in Mexico City, and they were doing CPR, I said, well, they took you to the hospital. You're obviously released. You're here in the States. Like, what did they tell you?" And he goes, "I don't know. Nervous system dysregulation was the cause.
Mm,
Overwhelm."
mm. So, what were you discovering about the stress, emotional overwhelm, and the body during your wife's healing journey to tie it back to how you got into this in the first place?
Yeah. So look, what's really interesting. Look, I'm an A-type personality. I get after life. I say yes to probably way too many things. And my schedule is way too crowded, hence us rescheduling and me being at Beyond Conference last week, right? Like, just I can I'm an F yeah kind of guy, right?
Hmm.
Like, if it's F yeah or it's a no, right? Like, if it's anything less than F yeah, it's no. And I get really excited about a lot of different things. So to answer your question, and my wife, by the way, is the same way. We're like, yeah, let's get after life. Yeah, boating this weekend. Yeah, let's go. Ski trip. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go.
Oh,
Partying.
yeah.
Let's go. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, yes,
you just
yes.
it's just like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's go do that. Uh, I didn't realize what that does to my nervous system when you have all of this calendar that won't quit, and a honey-do list at the house that won't quit. And now I
Mhm.
have my 6-year-old daughter, and my parents just moved in with me, and you
Oh,
start to
yeah.
stack up. And eventually you get to a point, which is where I am now, which is there's more to do in a day than I have time to do it. Period. Full stop.
Definitely
So
emotional overwhelm.
we need to do something to release that energy, and sound and
Yeah.
vibration helps you to do that. Right? That's the most important aspect of what we do and how we do it. And one of the most powerful reasons why we really need to be focused on that. And why InHarmony, frankly, has been growing like it has been, is because too many people are walking around in a dysregulated state, a nervous system that is triggered, which is designed to save your life, right? Survival mode is literally like a life-saving set of priorities in the body. And too many
Mhm.
people are walking around in that sympathetic nervous system response day after day, week after week, month after month. And to answer your question, I didn't realize that that was me until I realized that it was me.
Right. You don't know until you know.
So going to and by the way, the things I was doing to relax were not actually relaxing, right? Sitting down, watching television, watching movies, watching the news at night, watching that endless news cycle. They just weren't relaxed. The adrenaline
No.
acts that I was looking for, right? Wave running and jet skiing and all the different things that I was doing, rock climbing. It wasn't relaxing to my nervous system. It was actually more stimulating to my nervous system. And
It's an adrenaline rush.
well, yeah, and you don't realize that that's even a thing until it's a thing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I laid down at this at LIB at the sound bath, and my body felt true relaxation, and it changed my
Mm.
outlook on life. It
Now,
changed
did
everything.
your wife notice the changes emotionally or physically once you began exploring this mindfulness
Well,
and
yeah,
self-care?
because we both started to feel better,
So you did it
right? Like,
together. You were doing it together
yeah,
as
of
a team.
course. Oh, yeah.
I
Look,
love that because it seems like when one of you finds something, you're like, hey, let's do this together.
that's been the story of our relationship. I'm with my wife 18 years. Um,
It's a long
and
time.
and it is a long time. I'm 47. It's like much of my life, more than a third of
She
my life,
snatched you up in
more
your
than half of
prime.
my life. I feel better than ever. I just had my Tuesday was my 47th birthday. I'm in my 48th year. I feel like I'm
Oh,
25.
congratulations. Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
it's
Tuesday,
thank
as in 2 days ago?
Tuesday as in 9 days ago. May 26th is my birthday.
Oh,
I
okay.
am
So you're a Gemini.
I'm a triple Gemini. Gemini sun, Gemini
Listen,
moon, Gemini rising. Let's go.
listen, let's go. My birthday is next Wednesday.
Happy birthday to you. That's awesome. The 10th.
Hey,
That's rad. My daughter gets her
Juneteenth.
cast off on Wednesday the 10th. That's why I know that date so well. Um,
Well, now you have another reason to know that date.
well, so let me answer your question, because I think you bring up a really great point and something that has been near and dear to my wife and I in our 18-year
Hmm.
relationship, and that is when one person is growing and the other person isn't, we find dysregulation in the relationship. Um,
Absolutely.
and I can give you countless examples of when that's happened. And I have asked, or my wife has asked me to do the things that we need to do to grow and meet each other on the plateau that we were now on, because you're constantly up leveling. And
You have to. You
let me
have
tell
to
you,
as a couple. It cannot be one-sided because someone's going to develop resentment at some point. They're going to resent you for growing and they're going to resent the fact that they don't know how to get there.
I would rephrase that as, we have to do it individually
Hmm.
because you have to take care of yourself, and we have to do it as a couple. And as because the relationship is a thing by itself. EPEC is, my wife is, by herself a being, and she needs to up level wherever she is. There's levels to life. And
Absolutely.
and I don't know about you, Noreen, but I didn't get a manual. I I was literally just having this conversation with a friend of mine who was here yesterday. And we had a nice, deep spiritual conversation for 15 or 20 minutes, which is not long for that type of a conversation. And he was like, I'm just trying to figure out, why I'm here and what's going on.
Mm,
And
that's
I was
deep.
like, dude, you let me know when you get an answer to that question. Right. I gave him my version of that answer: to feel emotion, to experience life. I believe we're spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. And that we're meant to be here to feel life and to experience emotions, energy in motion. And that's the purpose of life. That everything else is secondary. And again, as we grow, as we expand, all of a sudden you realize, like, you think you've hit the pinnacle of existence, and then all of a sudden this glass ceiling shatters and there's another level, and you're like, oh, there's
Hmm.
another level. And that happens like over and over and over and over and over again. And it happens with me individually. It happens with my wife individually. It happens with my daughter. She's 6. That's happening to her, like, mind blown all the time. It's still happening with my parents that are in their late 70s.
Mm. And that's amazing. And and so you've involved your parents and your daughter in everything that you're doing. Because when
Yeah.
we spoke, we talked about grounding as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So look, there are a lot of things that I think are important to the human body. And when you start to think of the nervous system, I'll give you a great example. It's not important. I live here in Vegas, really, really dry. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
And
in
I
Illinois.
have, you're in Illinois. All right. So I have carpet, but same in the winter, it's really dry, right?
It is.
You ever walk across the carpet and then you kiss the loved one, or you touch somebody and you get a shock?
Yes, and that's why we now have tile.
Cool. That's a great reason. Okay. But so here's the takeaway from that experience. As my lawn team is literally right outside my window. I don't know if you can hear that. That
No.
is loud. Go noise canceling. Thank you, StreamYard. Okay. So Why does that happen? It's static electricity that builds up in the body. Your nervous system is literally an electrical system. And then you touch somebody, and that's a transfer of energy. That spark is a transfer of energy. All of that builds up. Look, you ever lay underneath your comforter in the dark and create static electricity by moving your body? Have you ever seen that?
I have not.
Oh, it's like
Now you're
magic.
giving me homework.
Oh, it's like magic. I love doing it with my daughter, right? So like I'll be tucking her into bed, and when it's just the right conditions, you can literally move your hand really fast on this one comforter that we have, and it makes sparks. And when the room is dark, it literally looks like lightning. I mean, it's awesome.
So
Why
are
does
you
this
doing it
happen?
on top the comforter?
On top of the comforter, underneath, it doesn't matter, right? There's one particular comforter. Again, it's the material, and it's the dryness, and it's what's happening in the air. Your body is a huge antenna, and your electrical system works by transmitting electrical signals through water. Your body below the waist is below the neck, 70-90% water. Your body, your head, neck, and above, 93% water. Why? Because electricity transmits through water, and your nervous system is largely built as an electrical system. We were talking about grounding and why it's important. It's because most humans are wearing rubber-soled shoes and disconnecting their body from the earth.
Right.
And most of us are walking around on tile or carpet. Most carpet is made from a petroleum derivative. The largest pores on your feet are the largest pores on the body are actually the bottoms of your feet. Most humans are, I'm going to go on a tangent here. Most humans are mineral deficient because we're no longer walking barefoot on dirt, which gives us our minerals. We literally absorb minerals through our feet, walking on dirt, sand, grass. You actually absorb minerals through your feet. And the reason why grounding is so important is because we also, like a grounding rod, what does a grounding rod do? It disperses electrical energy. When your feet touch the ground, not asphalt, not concrete, not stone, but when they actually touch, well, stone maybe, but when they actually touch grass or dirt, you diffuse that energy that is built up in your body into the ground. And your electrical system performs better. Your nervous system performs better. Digestion happens better. All these bodily functions happen better. Cellular communication happens better. Grounding is really important. It's one of 10 things that I talk about that don't involve 9. One does. Meditation and mindfulness involves my business and what I do. But the single greatest thing you can do for your health is sleep. Just 8 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people really burn the candle at both ends, and they really deprive themselves of that wonderful
I'm
gem.
guilty. Guilty as charged.
I'm guilty too.
Last night I put my daughter to bed, and my wife is traveling. So the rule is when my wife is traveling, Harmony gets to sleep in our bed, and laid down next to her at 7:45. I was out.
I love that her name is Harmony.
I do too. She named herself. Totally different story, but that's another wild story.
I love that your family is wrapped up in everything, and everyone can see the benefits. It doesn't sound like there was much pushback, because some families are like, "Oh, that's crazy. I don't know what you do." I'm very holistic
hold on.
myself.
Hold the phone. Hold the phone.
Oh, wait a minute. Did I misspeak?
I've been called crazy by my family for years.
No.
Okay. So, no, look, when all this went down in 2012 and my wife and I started, first of all, we got aggressive with it. Okay. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. So,
the only way to
look,
be.
for 3 years, we were vegan. We were local. I got all my food at farmers markets. I carried water and food with me everywhere I went. I did not buy food at stores or restaurants. We did not have clean options. There were seed oils and everything. I learned about seed oils years ago. Now this is a regular conversation. Like there are regular conversations now that are topical conversations that we're having on and off social media that just didn't exist 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came at look, you're still using Glade plugins. When I came to
I feel so ashamed now.
No, look, when we were teaching our class on essential oils, it was a very basic introductory class, and we were talking about neurotoxins, and we were talking about these synthetic scents that are being used and how they're received by the body and perceived and how they interact with our nervous system, we would have, I don't get emotional. We would have moms. I didn't know they were moms, but we would have people crying in our classes and our
Hmm.
lectures. And at the end, I would ask them like, "Hey, I saw you start to tear up. Like, what's going on?" And they felt guilty and shame of what they did with their families and what they exposed their children to.
Hmm.
And and look, you don't know what you don't know, right?
You
You
don't?
now know, and you can now unplug the Glade plugins. You can actually return them. Any store you bought them for will take the return, used or
Really?
unused. Absolutely.
Mm.
You can go through your kitchen. You can do a little bit of research with ChatGPT and just ask ChatGPT, what are the corn and soy derivatives of genetically modified corn and soy? And it will spit out a list of almost 200 ingredients that are derivatives
Wow.
of genetically modified corn and soy, not organic corn and soy, genetically modified corn and soy. Things like dextrose, dextrin, maltodextrose, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, corn, whatever. You go into your kitchen and you look for all of the foods that have those derivatives in them, and I wouldn't even I wouldn't even donate them. Like, it's not
Just
food
throw them
now.
out.
Yeah, but it is. But no, you can actually take it back to the store and return it. They'll give you your
Interesting.
money. They'll give you store credit. And then go buy replacements that don't have those derivatives, that don't have seed oils, that don't have genetically modified food in them, that have the sticker USDA organic or the sticker the non-GMO project verified. It's so much easier today to do that. But to your point, you can't feel bad for, you didn't know. Now you know. And
Now
look,
I know.
do your own research. I tell people this. I might be the catalyst to teach you something that, but go do some research on it and make sure it's right for you. You might look at the research and go, you know what, Craig? I love the way it smells. It's right for me. And that's cool. And I'm okay with that. Like, you live your life, you make your decisions how you want to make your decisions in your life. But to your point again of this question, which was like, were we ever thought to be crazy? Like, oh yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I bet.
Right.
I
So
bet.
look, it reminds me of a saying, and I'll butcher this, but it's something along the lines of, those that were seen dancing were sought to be crazy by those who couldn't hear the music. Right. Something
That
along
makes
those lines.
sense.
Right? Like, if I'm just dancing and I'm listening to music in my AirPods and you're like, why is this guy dancing in the middle of a park? You just can't hear the music that I'm dancing to.
Yeah.
Like,
Silent disco.
you don't need to believe in my magic for me to know my magic works. I know
That's,
my magic
I
works,
love that. I love that.
right? So my beliefs are my beliefs, and that's what's good for me and my family. And my daughter is freaking, I mean, she's 6 years old, and she knows not to eat other kids' food at school, and that we only eat organic. And when somebody offers her food, she's like, "Is it organic? We only eat organic food." It's very cute, and she's learning. But like, in our house, everything here is clean, organic. Now, we've changed our tune a little bit. I can now eat gluten. My wife can now eat gluten, right? Once we detoxed and cleaned out our system, we were no longer so sensitive or intolerant to gluten, that now, again, there's no gluten in our house. But
Hmm.
if I'm out and we go out to dinner, I
Yeah,
would have
fear.
brought my own food to that dinner 10 years ago. And now I will have that meal, and I will enjoy that food. That is, I try and go to healthy restaurants. I try and go to restaurants that don't have seed oils. Now there's an app called Seed Oil Scout. You can actually just plug in. You can just plug into this map, and you can see like the restaurants around you that don't serve
Mm.
seed oils. Like, again, we just have so many resources. The Yucca app, like, look at that map. All the green ones
Wow.
are restaurants that don't serve seed oils, and it's all
Oh,
user
wow.
derived. It's anywhere, and this is just Las Vegas. It's anywhere in the world. You've got the Yucca app, YUKA, where you literally scan a barcode in.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
write
have
that
any.
down.
Yucca, YUKA. And the Yucca app, you literally bring this into the store and you scan the barcode of any food, and it's user derived ingredient analysis telling you if those ingredients are good, and it gives you a rating out of 100 if it's good or bad.
Wow. That is actually amazing that they do have that, because I do have a friend that she always feels a little, she had gluten allergies and she always felt a little on the outside when we would go out for team lunches, because, she would have to essentially not eat or get a salad or bring her own stuff.
Yep, I
And
was there.
so now there's so many different options. I wonder if she knows about that app. Maybe I'll get her a text later on and say, "Hey, I just found this out today." And it
Look,
seems that even on your wife's journey, of healing and you guys finding things out, you were on it with her because, she went off certain things, you went off it with her. Sometimes those journeys can feel isolating for couples. Did these mindfulness practices create moments to help you guys reconnect?
100%. Look, my wife and I we're two peas in a pod. And what she does, I do. And what I do, she does. And that's not 100%. That's not a steadfast rule, but in general,
Hmm.
if EPEC is giving up gluten, I'm giving up gluten. Like, hey, if it's good for you, it's gonna be good for me. Right? The last thing you want is like when we went vegan, or my wife being like, "Hey, I'm going vegan," and I'm just sitting there eating like a nice slice of pizza. You know, like that's not right. That's not gonna last, right? Either
No.
either she's leaving, or she's not gonna sit there and watch me eat pizza while she can't eat pizza.
Well,
So
and it's
no, we
the
do it together.
opposite in my family here.
Look, even now, my father's on a metabolic diet. He's given up carbs, like tracking his net carbs, eating less than 20 carbs a day.
Mm,
And the whole house is doing it. Not 100%. Like, we eat chips and we still have carbs in the house, but like dinners are predominantly a vegetable and a piece of protein. I feel better, right? Like,
mm.
my wife still eats bread. We do a lot of there's a lot of sourdough in the house, right? Like, and my wife will still do that, but she doesn't do it in front of my dad that often, right? Like,
Right.
we try and respect the fact that he's trying to keep his in ketosis, and he's doing something that's not easy. It's not
Yeah.
easy to change your diet after 77 years of life.
It is definitely not easy. And even when I went on the Daniel fast diet, where is this no meat, no fried foods, no dairy, I didn't even realize at that time how much of that I was really eating. And so when I went on that diet, my husband was like, "We don't all have to be on this diet, do you?" But I'm the cook. So I'm not eating it, but I am cooking it for
And I'm
them.
definitely not preparing it. Or you did.
I did. I did. I prepared it for them because it's my journey, and I can't drag
Nice,
people
Beth.
across. Yeah, I can't
Well,
drag
yes, you
people
can. If
across
you're
the
if you're
state
the one
line.
cooking the food, you absolutely can. I'll give you permission to do that. Absolutely. You'll be
Well,
making
I
your
can lead
family
them to the water,
healthier.
but I can't make them drink it.
No, when you're the cook, you actually can.
I
You
mean,
can.
I can sneak in like a few things, like I've done the 100% wheat pasta and I've made some substitutions here and there, but I can definitely not tell my husband he cannot have a ribeye. You know, if I'm on a vegan diet, I'm going to be on that diet until he decides he's on it.
All right.
But
Look, what works in your house is what works in your house. I would tell you that if I'm cooking the food, I'm cooking it to my standard, and and it tastes good, right? Like, I think that was
yeah,
one of the biggest takeaways for us when we went vegan, local, organic. The food tasted better. Like, we were eating, yes, we were eating salads, but that wasn't just like arugula and spinach.
right.
We
That
were
spring
eating
mix,
salads that had nuts and raisins and fruit and
walnuts, yeah,
apples and
cranberries, yeah.
walnuts, and
Hmm.
you would eat this salad and it would taste delicious, right? I mean, we're talking about organic olive oil, and we're putting in apple cider vinegar, and squeezing fresh lemon and lime and
Yeah.
oranges, and like making these just my mouth is watering just even saying all these things.
Mine too,
Like
because you discover a lot of things when you change your diet. There's an outlet for everything that we're doing these days. You can go on and you can get totally vegan recipes. I look at cabbage differently. I look at chickpeas differently. I can
chickpeas
curry
are
my
phenomenal.
chickpeas and cook it in coconut milk and still add my spices and still be totally healthy.
So look, there's also the flip side to that, and that is
Mhm.
there's ways to make fried chicken that is healthy, right? Like air fryers, which is really
Yeah.
nothing more than a convection oven that goes up to 500 degrees, right? Like there are things that you can do to create crispy chicken skin that doesn't involve Cisco oil, and deep frying in seed oils or whatever, right? So
Mhm.
there's an approach that you can take to cooking that simply creates like French fries are my kryptonite. Like, oh man, I love French fries. But when we gave up seed oils, especially when you're dining out, hey, what are the fries cooked in? Canola oil, whatever, right?
Mhm.
Always a seed oil, wrapped rapeseed oil, right? Whatever. So it's like, hey, could they toss those fries and cook them in butter? Sort of. You can't get the same heat because the oil, the butter will burn, right? But like avocado oil, if they have it, is
Yeah.
better. But you're still frying in oil and you're still creating a carcinogen, technically.
Mhm.
Um, but you can put it in an air fryer. And here at my house, I go to Sprouts and I get this. I think it's called Ben and Jess or Jess and Ben's or something like that. But it's literally French fries that are coated with sea salt and tallow, beef tallow.
Mm.
And you throw those in the air fryer and they're delicious. Like
Mm.
absolutely phenomenal.
I might have to
So,
try that.
oh, it's so good. So look, there's a lot of ways that you could still serve your family and people around you that gives them a healthier alternative to something they've been eating or accustomed to eating and love to eat, frankly. Like
Yeah.
fried chicken is fantastic.
I
But
love me some
you,
fried
you
chicken.
yeah, right.
But
It's
we
it's
do have our
delicious,
air fryer and I use the heck out of it.
right?
I
That's way
definitely
different
do.
than KFC and Popeyes, which by the way was different when we were kids than it is today,
Yeah.
right? Like even Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, like do a little research on the McDonald's ingredients in the United States and the McDonald's. There's like 30 ingredients in French fries, McDonald's French fries in the United States. There's three in Europe and the EU.
Mm.
So
That's
like,
much.
and by the way, those extra 27 ingredients are what will hurt your and harm your body and your nervous system. So
Yeah.
we dove a
Definitely
lot
your gut.
in yeah, we dove a lot in the nervous system, diet, nutrition, and really what it means to live a healthy life. And this is all simply information that we accrued through science and research and reading and articles and finding influencers that we liked. By the way, they weren't called influencers back then. They were experts in their field. Now everybody's an influencer, but you find somebody you like and you resonate with their message and start to implement one thing at a time,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
agree with that. And you guys are busy. You're out here speaking and teaching and trying to get everybody on board to a healthy lifestyle. How do you personally avoid burnout while also supporting your wife and helping so many people?
I mean, the easy answer is access to my technology, sound, vibration, sound lounge sessions, light, frequency. I believe there's nothing like it. Look, as it pertains to burnout, your downtime is as important as your uptime. So whatever you're doing to rest and relax, rejuvenate and restore, do that really, really well. So as hard as I go in the paint, as hard as I go charging forward with my daughter, my wife, my family, my friend group, my endless to-do list, is as hard as I go when it comes to rest and relaxation. I'll give you a great example. Last night, I went to bed at 8 p.m.
Hmm.
I woke up at 6 a.m. I thought it was 7 a.m., but I got up at 6 a.m. And I looked at my clock. I don't know why I read the clock in my analog clock wrong, but whatever. When I looked at my phone, it was 6 a.m., not 7 a.m. And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm up an hour early. Okay, cool. But I went to bed at 8. So I got 10 hours of sleep.
Hmm.
Fantastic.
What did you do
Um,
with the extra hour?
I worked for a little while and then my daughter got up and she was like, can I get up? And I was like, of course you can get up. And once she's up, I'm on, harmony duty.
Yeah, when she's up,
Right.
your hat is on for sure.
So, Dad, can I have this? Dad, can I have that? Hey, can I have this? Hey, can I have that? And she's got a broken arm. So I'm obviously super compassionate and empathetic. She can't brush it's her right arm. So she's learning how to brush her
Oh,
teeth with the left, which obviously isn't good. So I'm brushing her teeth. She can't bite. Like I'm on harmony duty when she's up. So
poor
my wife is
baby.
traveling for work and I'm home. But to answer your question, it's sound, light, and frequency. It's look, a 20-minute session on my technology is equivalent to 4 hours of sleep in the brain, the nervous system, and the body. So that's like the ultimate hack. So when I am working off 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep, when I can't get a full night's sleep because I'm burning that midnight oil, I am certain to be on the sound lounge multiple times a day the next day.
Mm, it sounds
And
good.
that's how I mitigate burnout. Look, we can do a lot. The human body is really resilient, and we can do a lot on a little bit of sleep. You know, you get a few nights
Power
in a row
naps.
where you don't
Hmm.
get right, but once it gets to like a week or two of not getting a full night's sleep, not giving you the catch up, the rest that you need, you feel like your 100% is 80% of your total
Right,
capacity, and
right.
you know it, right? So then it's like, okay, cool. What can I do to rest? I find sound therapy. I found vibroacoustic therapy. Um, I'll go get a massage. Oh, I love that. I love getting body work, massage therapy, acupuncture, chiropractic. You know, I'll find a
Yeah.
therapist that can help me to get my body back in balance as I drift further and further off of my center.
Well, we definitely have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves because we cannot pour from a full. We have to pour from a full cup. What does that look like within a marriage or a partnership?
So I'll tell you. So Andrew Reed, who is a longtime brother and dear friend of mine, he's also my video production crew through Red 5 Productions. I'll give him a shout out and I'll give him credit to what I'm about to share with you. I used to love the saying, "You got to pour from from a full cup." Here's the way I look at it now, and this is something that he shared with me. You have to pour to serve others from the saucer. So you're familiar with a teacup?
Mm-hmm.
The cup has to be overflowing into the saucer, and we serve others from the saucer. So to your point, you can't serve from an empty cup. And if you're not taking care of yourself, so the visual that I like to think of is a cup that's overflowing. That's all for
Mm-hmm.
me. Anything that overflows onto the saucer, that's for everybody else. And look, this is an ongoing struggle with myself, with my wife, with everybody else. I love to serve. I love to be here. I love to have these incredible conversations. My wife loves to serve the family. She loves to take care of the house,
Yeah.
but it can't be at her own expense.
Yeah.
And
And
even over the last couple of weeks, my wife, her body's been aching and bothering her. And I'm like, cool. Did you make an appointment with Dr. Blake? No. Did you make an appointment with the acupuncturist? No.
no.
Cool. They can't help you if you don't make the appointment. Go make the
Yeah,
appointment.
you got to take the first step. So, what would you say to caregivers or spouses who feel emotionally exhausted but are trying to remain strong for their loved ones? Because you seem like in your wife's journey, you had to really be the backbone, or else she would lose it because that's how we are. We overthink.
Look, I think that ebbs and flows in every relationship. There's
Hmm.
points in time over 18 years when she's been my rock. There's points in time where I've been her rock. And look, my daughter broke her arm on May 4th. Okay. So again, I don't know when this is going to air, but that was 4 weeks ago. And from the moment I got the phone call, I charged down to her school to pick her up, took her to the ER, got her in the splint, got her set, got her home, got her fed, got her to bed. I was her rock.
Hmm.
And at 9 o'clock, she stayed up a little late that night. At 9 p.m. that night, when I put her to bed, I had my moment of emotional release.
Hmm.
And that ebbs and flows in life. There's points in time where my parents who are now living with me are my rock and my steadfast and got my back and like, hey, you're pushing hard. Why don't you go do a sound lounge? Why don't you take a nap? Why don't you go to bed? We got this. We'll
Yeah,
handle dinner. We'll take care of Harmony, right? And it's the same with me and my wife. There's points in time where I am her rock, and there's points in time where she is my rock, and that's what makes our relationship so incredible and beautiful because it ebbs and flows. And there's other points in time where we are so on point, so in sync that we are each other's rocks, supporting each other and
I
helping
love
each
that.
other. And by contrast, there are points in time where we're both spread thin and exhausted, and we look at each other like, I need rest, and I don't have it in my
Yeah,
schedule,
then you
right?
have to
And it's
make a
like,
queen size sound lounge.
we have one.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we have one. Sound Lounge 3 is wide enough for us both to sit on, so too is the Zero G. Um, but it's few and far between that we get that time where we could both be on it together, unless Harmony's sleeping or out or at grandma and grandpa's house or whatever.
Hmm.
Instead, it's more like, hey, stop what you're doing. Tell me what you're working on. I'll finish that for you. Just go do a Sound Lounge session. Take 30,
That's
40
that's
minutes.
really good
Dude,
teamwork. Really
has
good
to be.
teamwork.
Has to
Yeah.
be.
So, what has your wife taught you about resilience and healing?
Hmm. Look, my wife is an incredibly powerful woman, um, bred deep into ceremony and intention. And one of the things that I think I take away from my wife is that life is a ceremony.
Hmm.
And the intention that you put behind one thing is the intention that you put behind everything. And which is a derivative of that is, that saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And my wife is incredibly intentional about everything that she does. There is thought behind it. There is, you know, I might not know or understand it or get it, but I ask my wife all the time, like, hey, why did you do this? And she's like, oh, that's why I did that. I'm like,
Yeah.
cool. Steeped in and bred in intention and ceremony. And that doesn't need to be, you know, whatever ceremony means to you. It just needs to be that intention and that dedication to a particular outcome. Um, and as that pertains to healing, look, my wife is very intentional about what she puts in her body, on her body, keeps in the air around her. Her morning routine, her evening routine, very important to her. And the checklist of things, like, I'll be honest, the bed's not made right now.
Uh-oh.
I know. Honey, if you're
Uh-oh.
watching this, the bed's not made right
The
now.
bed's not made, honey.
But for my wife, that's part of her intentional morning, is making the beds and getting that done and making sure the space is clean and clear. I'm not gonna go in my bedroom. Now, my wife's office is in our master bedroom, so she walks by it all the time. She wants to see something that's clean. I'm not gonna go
Mhm.
back in that room until it's time to go to sleep.
I hear you.
I'm
I
not saying it's
understand.
right. I'm just saying I don't have to look at it. This room is nice and tidy and clean, organized relatively.
Women and men process things very differently when it comes
Oh,
to
100%.
tidiness and cleanliness. Because if a room is messy, that means my mind is going to be cluttered. So in order for
100%.
me to be able to focus 100%, I my space has to be
A
immaculate.
and we've had that conversation, and by the way, I don't make the bed to the same standard that she does. So, when I make the bed, she just has to remake the bed anyway,
I
and
was
I
just
try
about to say, let's hope it's not to a point where she needs to do a remake.
always. I
Oh,
try,
Craig.
I
Oh,
try.
Craig.
I we just see things differently. We just see things differently. So
I just want the bed made. I don't care if we have pocket corners. I don't care any of that. I just need the sheets to be smooth. I need the pillows to be organized. But as we close, if your wife were sitting beside you right now, and she's traveling, but
she's
if
right
she
here.
was sitting beside you right now, what would you want her to know about how her journey impacted your life and purpose?
Oh, everything that my wife that's a really easy answer. Everything that has happened to my wife, and we've got countless stories over the 18 years that we're together, happens to me, and vice versa. Very early on in our relationship, like, I'm talking weeks. Well, let's go back to days. Within the first 48 hours that I met my wife, I knew
Mhm.
she was the one I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Like, I knew I had signs from the universe that she was the one, and I was concrete. And because of that, I approached the relationship differently than I'd have approached any other relationship. I did not let it end. I was committed and dedicated to this being the woman I was going to spend the rest of my life with from 48 hours of meeting her. And I remember very distinctly, and she'll remember also, we were in a cab and we were fighting. And she tried to break up with me and tried to get out of the cab. And I kind of I grabbed her arm and I said, hey, if you walk out that cab, this is over. I'm not gonna be in this relationship where we get together and we break up, we get together, we break yo-yoing, back and forth.
Right.
I
There
said,
ain't nowhere out.
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I want to talk through this. I will answer your questions honestly, and I will give you the truth because there's nothing and no one that's going to come in between us ever.
Mhm.
And that has come up over and over and over again in our relationship. So, in both ways, right? Like there's nothing that comes in between my wife, not even our daughter, not even my parents. That's dedication to relationship, and I
That's how
think
it's
that's the
supposed to be.
key. I think that's the key, right? Look, I love my parents and I will do anything for them. I love my daughter and I will do anything for her. But the bond that I have with my wife is very similar to the bond that I have with myself. dedication to finding time to work on the relationship, to feed her soul, to feed my soul. It's it's important, and everything that my wife has learned on her journey about health, wellness, excellence has been a dedication and a commitment for me to learn that dedication to excellence, and vice versa. As I learn
Mhm.
more and more about the power of sound and vibration, relaxation, nervous system regulation, my wife is learning too. I'm bringing that home. We have dinner every night together. We talk about our days together. What'd you learn today? What was the most exciting thing that happened to you today? Right?
Yeah.
We have this family bond, and I'm so grateful that my parents are under our roof and able to have that conversation with us and able to hear, and they're able to learn what we learn when we learn it, and they're able to make changes. It's just a very beautiful existence, and my wife and I are on this journey to learn together. Look, whether that's going to Tony Robbins or going on a retreat or doing, webinars and education, we share everything. And anything, my wife finds more time to listen to podcasts than I do, read books and listen to audiobooks than I do, and you bet I get the cliff notes of what's important. And I certainly get the downloads of how life is going to change and be forever impacted by what she just learned. And that's happening regularly.
I
I mean,
love that.
daily. Yeah.
I love that. And for an 18-year relationship to really be this sustainable, seems like you're both in it 100, 100. Some people say 50-50. I'm like, no, that means you only give me half the effort. I want all of your effort. So it's 100, 100. And I love that. So you guys can essentially be a role model for other couples. So what are some practical ways couples can support one another emotionally when a partner may be struggling with health issues, anxiety, or burnout? What can they learn from you guys about how to handle all that?
I'll give you a couple tips. All right. So first and foremost, we stopped yelling at each other in other rooms. That
Mm.
doesn't happen in my household. Craig, can you do this? What? We stopped doing that. If my wife needs something from me or I need something from my wife, we go and we find them. We make eye contact. We put the phone or the distractions down and we communicate directly. It has made a huge difference in how we communicate with one another. Same goes for my daughter also, who still hasn't learned not to scream from the dad. I need
Yeah.
you. It's like,
Yeah.
come find me, right? Um, That's, I think, first and foremost, eye contact, putting the phone down and waiting until we have undivided attention so that we can communicate with each other, absolutely important. Nothing makes somebody feel unimportant than for you to be, "Oh, yeah, what was that? What do you" yeah,
Yeah. You're
uh-huh,
pouring your heart
right?
out and they're all in their phones scrolling through.
No. The other thing that we do is we have date nights. These date
I
nights don't
love a
include
date
going out
night.
and spending money. Date night includes putting our daughter to bed, going into our bedroom, closing the door, putting on some nice background music, turning off the television, turning off the phones, and connecting. And we stretch each other. We do this couples yoga stretching that's very beautiful and involves intimacy and connection. Um, and we talk about our day. And we do this as often as we need to. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 nights in a row just to get
Mhm.
caught up on whatever's been going on in each other's worlds. Really powerful. And these would be 3, 4 hour drop-ins of just like, what's new and exciting in your world? What's happening?
Yeah.
Because we don't have time to connect and especially, look, it's been hard. Daughter, Harmony broke her arm on May 4th, and that's taking extra time from our days, right? We were enjoying the fact
Right.
that she was 6 and she was going to the bathroom by herself and she was brushing her teeth in the morning and she was getting dressed and now she's, got an arm with a cast up to her bicep and she's got dexterity in her fingers, but it's just not the same. She can't bend her arm and touch her face. So we're doing a lot
Exactly.
for her. And like anything, it ebbs and flows in the time and the energy that we have. The month of May, we were 2 ships passing in the night. My wife was actually out of town when my daughter broke her arm, so I dealt with that on my own. My wife wound up coming back that night, so that she could be with and cutting a work trip short. And then that happened on a Friday. That Tuesday, I left for a 5-day retreat. My wife was all hands on deck by herself. Then I came back on the 10th. The next week, I loaded in EDC, Electric Daisy Carnival, with my company. We run the wellness experience in the Artist Lounge for Electric Daisy Carnival. Um, and then, and we did that together, but largely 2 nights I was there by myself and my wife was here holding down the house. Then that Monday, my wife left for her retreat. Then it was my birthday over Memorial Day weekend. Then I went to Beyond Conference. Like, we have been two ships passing the night. And now my wife left yesterday for her own retreat,
Wow.
a work trip. We've been two ships passing in the night. Right. And like, I was in other time zones and she was in other time zones, and like, and we're not communicating when we're at retreat because we want each other to have that time alone.
Hmm.
Um,
Amazing.
Life is lifing right now, hard.
I want to hold that thought because I think someone is at my door.
Yeah, I heard that. You should go get your
Hold on.
door.
Hold on one moment. Always have to expect the unexpected.
Isn't that nice? And the best part is you can't expect it. So
Yeah. I just love that your wife and you are really so much aligned and you're on the same page and you have the same goals for your marriage and how you want to structure your family in spite of what anybody on the outside says. So I really
so let me
appreciate.
comment on that for a second, because that's not
Hmm.
always how it was. When my
Hmm.
wife and I first met, she didn't want to have kids, and I did,
Mm.
but I knew she was the one. So I said, okay, let's just wait and see how that goes. And as soon as she hit 30, she was like, no, I think I want to have kids. And I was like, that's great.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So do I.
People
Right?
change
Like,
some of their life stuff as you get older and you get more
we're,
mature.
we're constantly changing.
Yeah.
Right? So to your point, we're not always in alignment in everything that we do. I mean, we have
Hmm.
very common beliefs, and we've been together for 18 years. So I know what she's thinking and she knows what I'm thinking, and we see each other's blind spots and all the great things that comes from relationship and doing the work that we do. But we're not always on the same page. And I think it's
Mm-mm.
important to note that we're not always on the same page. How do we get on the same page? Through communication,
Through
right?
communication and
By
mutual
talking
respect.
through these things and mutual respect,
Yeah.
right? Why do you feel that way? I want to know. Why do you feel that way? Here's why I feel that way. Okay, cool. And look, there's still not stuff that we see eye to eye on yet, but we will
Right.
find that middle ground and we will find a way for us to get into alignment, and we will find a way for us to feel the same way that we do, or at least understand why the other person feels that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's important to really dig into why the other person feels a certain way about particular things because that's how you learn. That's how you learn and grow.
Absolutely.
Man, Craig, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I have learned so much. Now you're going to make me go through all my smells and everything. But,
I
when
have
you
that
know, you
effect on
know.
people.
When you know, you know. And but some of the things, because I am a holistic person, I've been secretly and just silently removing it from my life anyway. And of course I was in my
Mhm.
garden earlier, but I was like, if I get into this garden, I'm going to miss this interview, because once I get in the dirt, just like you said, I'm all into grounding. Once I get in the
Grounding.
dirt, that's my happy place. And
Me
so
too.
I didn't want to miss the interview. But I really appreciate you coming on here and teaching us a lot about our body and how the outside world really affects it and how we benefit from Mother Earth. I really appreciate all that. So, where can people connect with you and learn more about your work?
I am the easiest person on the planet to find. I am super Googleable these days. Just search InHarmony, just like it's written above my head, or search Craig Goldberg, and you'll find me and my company, my brand. I oversee all of our socials. We post twice a day on 5 platforms, six, X as well. So we're regularly out there. Our website is iaminharmony.com. The two most important words in the English language: I am, because anything you put after it, you are. So why not be in harmony with the world around you? And yeah, it's my honor. My phone number is literally at the top of my website, and I welcome a phone call. So if you've got
Oh,
questions, if you want to chat, give me a call. Let's chat.
you could be dangerous being that accessible to the outside world.
There's no other way to do it, as far as I'm concerned. Look, I have boundaries, and I don't always answer the phone, but I do my best to answer the phone as often as possible.
Well, I love it. This has been an amazing experience speaking with you, Craig. Thank you for sharing your experience. To the listeners, until next time, remember your healing matters too. Listen to your body. If you haven't picked up on anything else today, pick up on that. Listen to your body, honor your journey, and make time to refill your cup. So we'll talk soon. Peace and blessings.